Hi, I'm Charlotte and I work for Operation Wallacea, and I'm going to go through all the kit that you need to go out into the project in Croatia. So to start off with, first thing I'd like you to do is have this kit list in front of you. So if you can go onto the training materials page, print this off and have this in front of you, and then you can make notes and things as we go through, and when you're packing there's a tick box there so you can tick off everything as we go through. So I'm going to try and give you hints and tips on everything you might need, look at quality and that type of thing, but please have this with you when you're packing so you know you've got everything. Okay, so to start off with, we'll look at what you need to take everything in. So we'll start with a bag. So we'd recommend you bring a rucksack. You could bring like a hold all or a travel bag with you as well, or if you wanted to, but definitely not a suitcase. A suitcase isn't going to be suitable. You need to be able to carry this. So I would normally bring a rucksack, but I said if you want to bring a travel bag type thing, then you can do that if you'd like to. If you're going to buy a rucksack, a few things to have a look out for. First thing is to make sure you've got nice padded arm straps. You need to make sure this is comfortable so you carry it and it's all going to be all right. And then also look at the waistband as well. So the waistband's really important to basically distribute the weight of the bag into the right place, and so it's comfortable to wear as you're kind of walking along. So look for these to have a waistband, all nice and padded, arm straps all nice and padded as well. And this will probably be like a 50 to 70 litre, something like that, and that will be everything that you're going to need to fit in. So this will be the bag you also check in to go on the plane. Second bag you'll need is what we kind of call a day sack, so just a smaller rucksack, 20 to 30 litres, something like that. So you may already have a rucksack like this, doesn't need to be anything fancy or anything special, so if you've already got one about this size that you might have used for school or for anything else, then use that. This is also going to be useful as your hand luggage, so this is what I'd recommend you put your hand luggage in, and then you've got your big one to go checked in on the plane. So you're going to need this on a daily basis as well for things like when you're going out on surveys. You might need to take water, lunch, equipment, your camera, waterproof, those types of things. So definitely have the second bag. You also need to think about what you're going to sleep in. So Croatia is going to be really hot and really dry most of the time. Nighttime temperatures will drop just a little bit, but it's not going to be cold. So I usually take like a sleeping bag liner, and these ones just like fold up really small, or you can use just like a single duvet cover or a very light sleeping bag, something like that. It's not really for warmth, it's more for kind of comfort. So have a think about how warm you get at night time, whether you'd bring a very light sleeping bag or just a sheet. That's normally what I would bring, is just like a single duvet cover, something like that. Moving on to footwear. Okay, so you're going to need a pair of boots. These are important for any walking, keep yourself supported and everything. And the most important thing I can say about your boots and your shoes in general is to make sure they're worn in. So please don't go get brand new boots and then bring them out into site and that be the first time you've worn them. You'll end up with blisters and it could potentially wreck your trip. So make sure you have a pair of boots. Ankle support is really good. You can look at them being waterproof. Apart from in the cave surveys, you're not going to need to worry too much about keeping yourself covered from water, but it's always useful to have a waterproof pair of boots. And also look for something breathable, like a Gore-Tex type material is useful. If you're looking for waterproof as well, look at where the tongue is sewn in on the boots. So these boots are waterproof up to there because the tongue's sewn in there. Just make sure they're nice and comfortable. The other pair of shoes that is absolutely essential is a pair of dive booties. So this is whether you're snorkeling, diving, whatever you're doing, you need a pair of these booties. So they're made of like a wetsuit material, and then they're hard on the bottom. And the reason for this is that when you are getting out to the boat to go snorkeling or diving, you're going to need to walk out into the sea, and there's lots of rocks and things. So these are absolutely essential. Please bring these. You can get them from any sort of outdoor shops, and they're really pretty reasonable to get as well. And then last but not least, make sure you've got another pair of shoes, sandals, flip-flops, whatever you want that's just going to be comfortable, be walking around in when you're journey on the plane, all those types of things. So boots, pair of booties, and then a pair of sandals, whether they're flip-flops or other sandals, completely up to you. You are going to need a waterproof jacket as well. It's really unlikely it's actually going to rain. It's probably just going to be really warm the whole time you're there. Possibility, could potentially rain, but you will need this for when you're doing cave surveys. When you get into the caves, it's going to be colder and it will be damp. So you need to have just a light waterproof jacket to wear on the cave surveys. Most of the time you're going to be thinking about trying to cover yourself up from the sun, not worrying about waterproof stuff. So hat with a brim, really, really useful. Bandana's useful. Sunglasses, definitely. It's going to be really, really hot and really kind of bright sun, so make sure you have all of those things to keep yourself safe. And then a towel. So You will definitely need at least one towel. Sometimes people would prefer to bring two, so that you have one that you're going to be using for when you're washing and then one take down to the beach. Kind of up to you, see what you can fit in with your rucksack and what your preference is. I would definitely though recommend that you bring travel towels, whether that's one or two of them. So a travel towel is really, really thin and made of this material that dries very quickly, but it's also really absorbent. So you can get large ones like this, so it can still cover you up. You can still use it as a kind of larger beach towel when you're down at the beach. But I would definitely recommend these over the big fluffy bath towels. First of all, the bath towel would take up huge amount of room in your rucksack, where these pack down really, really small. And secondly, they're really difficult to dry. You've got to bear in mind you're just going to have to dry in the sun. So I would definitely recommend bringing travel towels. And as I said, have a think about whether you want to bring one or two. And then socks and underwear. I would definitely say bring enough for your trip of these. You don't want to run out of socks and underwear. So with your socks, one thing to think about is whether you want to get walking socks, which are like these ones. And walking socks tend to have like two membranes basically, and they're a little bit thicker, and that keeps your feet protected. So those two membranes kind of move against each other like that and stop your feet rubbing. Instead, they just rub against each other. So you can either invest in some walking socks, or what I tend to do is have two thin pairs of socks, wear them one over the other, and then it has the same effect. So have a think about that, but definitely think about bringing enough for the expedition. You can do a little bit of washing, but just to make yourself comfortable, think about bringing enough for the expedition. Jumper as well, like a jumper or hoodie or something like that. You'll need this for the plane when they turn up the air conditioning, it gets really cold, and also again for the cave surveys. Once you get inside the caves, it will be cool. Caves stay a constant temperature throughout the year, and so it will be much, much cooler than when you're up at the surface. So make sure you've got a jumper you can wear underneath your waterproof jacket, and you'll be comfortable down there. Clothing, it's going to be warm, so you want lightweight stuff, you want kind of loose fitting stuff when you're trekking around. Also thinking about biting insects, those type of things, kind of loose fitting stuff's good. So t-shirts, I've got my Opwol one here, but you can have whatever you like. Vest tops as well. I'd always bring a long sleeve t-shirt with me that you can keep in your rucksack and put on whenever needed. Keep you a little bit warmer if you need to, but also covers you up. Covers you up from the sun if you need to, and covers you up from biting insects, mosquitoes, that type of thing. So definitely think about that. Pair of shorts, definitely going to need some shorts. It's going to be nice and warm there. If you're kind of trekking around, you might want to wear trousers. I tend to, so I don't get any scratches or anything like that. So these sorts of trousers are really useful. So they're kind of trekking trousers, nice, loose fitting. And then they actually have a zip off section. So you can zip off the bottom and you've got a pair of shorts. So look out for ones like that because they can be really useful. You're also going to need nightwear. So throughout the expedition, you will be sharing accommodation, your sleeping accommodation, maybe in the same room as other people. So make sure you've got nightwear, because then if you need to get up and go to the toilet or something in the middle of the night, you've got nightwear and you're perfectly comfortable. Water stuff as well. This is going to be really important. Make sure that you can carry water with you. It's going to be hot, you're going to be trekking around, moving around. So you can do this in one or two ways. You can bring water bottles, obviously, or you might want to look at a system like this. This is a platypus. You basically fill this sack full of water, and then you can use this pipe to drink out of. So you can put this in your rucksack and then you carry along, walking along and drink along like that. I tend to find these help me keep drinking when I'm going on kind of long walks, that type of thing. But have a look and see what you think is best for you. Moving on to kind of marine clothes and what you're going to need over there. So everyone's going to need a swimsuit, definitely. So board shorts, swimsuit, bikini, whatever it is that you want to swim in. And also a rash vest is up to you for comfort to wear under your wetsuit. Depends on kind of how covering your swimsuit is. You might want to have a rash vest underneath your wetsuit for cover. Also depends a little bit on how well it fits as well. So that's just like an optional thing. Have a think about that. One of the things you definitely need to have is a wetsuit for when you're going in the water, whether that's snorkeling or diving. And it is cold in the water, so it's going to be sunny and hot outside. You get in the water and it is going to be cold, I'm afraid. So you need a full length 5mm thick wetsuit. This is compulsory, you have to bring this with you. 5mm thick full length wetsuit. Optional as well is to have the hood that goes with the wetsuit as well. Have a think about how cold you generally get. If you're someone that does get very cold, then think about getting that extra hood as well. It'll just help keep any of the heat from your head. You lose a lot of heat out of your head, so having a hood over the top might be something you want to consider. But you do have to have a 5mm full length wetsuit, definitely, for Croatia. Okay, so that's kind of gone through all the clothing, bags, shoes, all those bits and pieces. We'll just go through some extra stuff that you're going to need to think about. First aid kit. So that's definitely something you're going to need. On that kit list that I spoke about at the start, you will have a detail of what needs to be in here. So it's only small personal things like plasters and that type of stuff. So that if you do get like a blister forming, something like that, you can put a plaster on it and you don't need to go and find our medical kit and someone to administer it to you and everything. So just kind of personal stuff, and we've put a list on there, so have a look at that. Shampoo, conditioner, shower gel, all those types of things, up to you what you bring. The only thing we ask is that it's biodegradable. So it just means it's made of natural products that are going to break down very quickly in the environment. This stuff is really easy to get hold of now. You can definitely find stuff on the internet, and also most supermarkets will now have toiletries that are completely biodegradable, so just look into that. One thing I should have mentioned with the first aid kit actually is the rehydration sachets. So this is part of the list, but it's something I want to highlight because they're really, really important. So when you are walking around and trekking around and doing work and sweating and doing all those sorts of stuff, which you will be when you're out on the project, it's really important to keep yourself hydrated. And having one of these at the end of the day, or having them in your rucksack just in case you need them, are really important. So they're full of sugar and salt and all the things that you sweat out of your body, basically. And so I tend to have one of these at the end of the day. So you go out trekking, do all that sort of stuff, and you have one of these at the end of the day, and you kind of feel your body gets a bit of a boost, and you feel replenished and fully hydrated. So definitely make sure you have some of those. Sunscreen, suntan lotion, you're going to need to bring that with you. We'd recommend a high factor, so factor 30 plus would be ideal. And also if you can look out for the stuff that is coral friendly, that would be ideal if you can get that as well. We're going to be going in and out of the water, so it's important that we have at least the least impact we possibly can on the environment we're in. So looking for the coral friendly stuff would be great. Also, insect repellent. There are mosquitoes, there are those types of things, and so we just want to make sure you minimise any bites or anything like that. So there's a few different types. You can get the deep base products, which are very effective, but it's quite a harsh kind of chemical, so just need to think about where that's going, if that's on our skin, if we're handling animals, that type of thing. You'll get more advice on site, but if you choose to use those, we just need to be a little bit careful and make sure we don't handle any animals with DEET on our hands. Or if you want to use one of the more natural products, you can use something like citronella, those types of things. And lastly, one I would recommend is that if you use Avon, there's this product called Avon Skin So Soft, which is actually like a spray moisturising oil, but it's great against mosquitoes. They just don't like it for whatever reason. The army actually use it as well, so it's quite a good tip. So if you're able to get hold of that, that's quite a good insect repellent as well. A few other things, binoculars, if you're able to borrow those, or if you've got any, maybe try and make sure you've got a few between your group. That would be great. Really good for bird surveys. You'd be looking at the 8x40 resolution is the best for the sort of surveys that we're doing. Camera, obviously, if you have a camera, definitely bring it along with you, whether you bring a kind of larger, more SLR camera or one of the small compact ones. If you have one, then it's great to be able to bring that along with you. A head torch. Head torches are really important to have strapped to your head rather than a handheld one. It just means if you've got surveys at night time or you need to move around at night time, then you've got your hands free. So that's really, really important. And they, very easily you can get hold of those on the internet. For diving and general surveys, you're going to need a watch. So you're going to want an alarm to get up. Some of the surveys do start really early, I'm afraid. And then if you are diving, you're going to want to be able to time your dives. If you're diving, you don't have to have a dive computer. If you've got one, great. But if not, you just need a timing device that's waterproof to at least 50 metres. You're only going down to 18, but just to give you some extra cover, we'd look at least 50 metres depth for waterproofing, and just a timing device basically. Also, as I said, good as an alarm. If you are learning to dive when you're out there, so if you're already dive qualified or if you're snorkeling, don't worry about this bit, but if you're learning to dive out there, you're going to need what's called a PADI crew pack and a pick. So the crew pack is made up of a manual which takes you through the course, and also your dive log, so you log all the dives that you go on, and a few other bits and pieces. And then really importantly is this piece of paper called a pick. So the pick is basically your dive instructor fills in everything to say you're qualified. They send this off and then you get back your qualification card, like your driving licence essentially. Now you can get these through our website, through our partners at Coralview. You can get the physical version like this, or you can get an online version which you can then print off yourself. As a just note of caution, if you get an e-pick, which is like an online version of this, you can only get that through Coralview, our partners. Otherwise you're going to need to have a paper copy. There's basically a rule that any e-picks can only be filled in by the organisation that has administered them. So if you're diving with us, you need to buy it through Coralview. If not, that's okay, you can have the paper pick if you get it from somewhere else. But please make sure, no matter what, that you have the crew pack and the pick. You have both of these things. Few more things. Make sure you've got a plug converter if you need it. So it's a European 2-prong round prongs that you'll need to convert anything over there for your plugs. Spare batteries. It's always worth having spare batteries. We will have electricity on site, but it's one of those things that it's best to have spare batteries for anything you need that's electrical. Also a phrase book. If you want to have a phrase book and learn a little bit of the local language, then that would be great. Have a think about that. And then last but not least, make sure you've got your passport, obviously. That's really, really important. A couple of passport photos. If you're learning to dive, you need 2 passport photos that will be sent off with the pick. And that'll be the photo that you have for your qualification. And also some copies of your passport. It's always just really good practice to have some copies of your passport, and we'll keep them in a different place to your actual passport, so we've got all the details if they were ever needed. Just good practice basically. Okay, I think that is everything that you're going to need for your trip to Croatia. If you've got any questions, feel free just to call us at the office and we're more than happy to answer anything. And just once again, please make sure you look through this. There is more detail, and also you're able to kind of tick it a lot off as you're packing. So it'll give you better ideas of numbers and some more details, and also some more optional extras you might want to think about. Okay, I hope that's been helpful. Thanks for watching and enjoy your project in Croatia.